All right, we're going to need a deep breath for tonight's Money Power Politics. President Trump is declaring victory over affordability, but apparently private companies have not gotten the message. According to the Wall Street Journal, businesses, big and small, are planning significant price hikes. That includes Levi's, Columbia Sportswear, McCormick, the spice company, whose CEOs have said the increases are designed to offset, can you guess what? The impact of high tariffs. But you know what is not on the rise? Wages. According to new data from our Labor Department, wages for private sector employees rose just over 3% in the fourth quarter. That is the smallest increase in 5 years, and only half of a percentage point above the rate of inflation. Natasha Stern joins me now. She's a former Treasury official and Yale law professor. And Brendan Greeley is back, contributing editor for the Financial Times. All right, Natasha, does any of this surprise you?
Well, not really, right? So if you compare us to where we are in January of last year, the effective tariff rate facing these companies was somewhere in the range of 2.5%. And now it's more like 16.5%. We have the highest tariffs that we've had at any point in the last century. Higher tariffs are a tax. They are a tax on American consumers that they're going to feel in the form of higher prices. And they are, in fact, already starting to feel it. What's kind of surprising is how long it's taken. But there are a lot of reasons for that have to do with the fact that a lot of these businesses tried to bring in imports at lower tariff rates in order to be able to forestall passing on these price increases to consumers. But they're not being able to do that anymore.
And it's also why so many small businesses shut their doors last year, because they couldn't afford to do that. Brendan, one executive told the Wall Street Journal, quote, "It is not sustainable for us to tolerate that kind of increase without some sort of concession from our consumers. But it's also isn't sustainable for consumers to pay higher prices while they're losing their spending power." How long can this really go on?
Well, I think we're seeing the end of the first phase of this. We've been talking for the last year about uncertainty. Businesses didn't really know what was going to happen. When tariffs got jacked up, they thought it can't possibly be this bad, but we don't really know. And one of the things that we saw actually towards the end of the last year was prices weren't rising as high. There was some confidence that things might get better, that Trump was over his tariff phase, and he was going to move on to other things. It's very clear now that he's not. It's very clear that tariffs are fun for him. They're a negotiating tool for him. It's not really relevant whether or not it brings back manufacturing. And so we've reached the end of this year of uncertainty. We are now certain. And the certainty is that this tariff regime, as Natasha points out, is not going away. And when we look at wage growth, there's a real problem right now with affordability, which is right after the pandemic. We saw real wage growth. And in particular, we saw wage growth at the bottom of the earning quartiles. The people who are in the least money in America actually saw the highest wage growth. So not only is wage growth down overall, that's inverted. So the people who make the least money in America are seeing the least wage growth. And that's a real problem. And that is, as you point out, not sustainable in any way.
Okay, well, the labor market is also experiencing serious pressure right now between tariffs, AI. Growth essentially stalled last year. Now, the economy might be chugging along, but if we don't reverse this trend, what could happen?
Well, I think it's really significant. We've been for a long time in this sort of like no hire, no fire economy, where we're not really adding jobs in any sectors, maybe excluding like health, maybe a little bit of education. But what you're starting to see as a result of these tariffs and these sort of broader macroeconomic uncertainties, there are real chances that not only is wage growth slowing for those who are at the bottom of the distribution, but if these productivity gains from AI are realized, they could lead to mass displacement of exactly those workers who aren't going to be able to have jobs in the same way in an economy that doesn't stand ready to support them. And the winners from AI are disproportionately going to be those people at the top of the distribution. So there's been so much uncertainty. There's been slowing wage growth for this population. And now they have to worry about the fact that it might not be the case that the job market stands ready to support them. And I think these are the types of things that are going to make concerns about affordability in this economy worse, not better.
All right. Well, now let's turn to another story that has us asking the question we ask many, many nights here. Is the White House for sale? The Trump family business has officially filed for trademark rights on any airports using the president's name. The applications reportedly seek exclusive rights to use his name not only on airports, but also dozens of things found there, like buses, umbrellas, travel bags. Well, now the Trump Organization says it is not seeking profit from these trademarks and only wants to protect against what they call bad actors. But these filings come just 1 week after the president personally pressured lawmakers to rename New York's Penn Station and Washington's Dulles Airport after him. And the very same day that the Florida House voted to put his name on the Palm Beach Airport. The licensing now raises the following question. If Palm Beach or Dulles change its name to Trump, will it need to pay Trump for using that name? Brendan, what do you make of the Trump family's defense? This is just, we're just protecting against bad actors.
Steph, I think it's important to point out that I can't believe we're discussing this on the merits of it. Right? There's no precedent for this whatsoever. And I know we say it night after night after night, but we have never had a president that, in addition to all the other harms that Natasha and I have been talking about tonight, is a bottomless pit of need. So, no, there's absolutely no evidence that they're not going to profit from the name. In any way in which they can profit from the Trump name, that's what they've done. And as we know, a long time ago, he stopped being an actual developer and started being a licenser of his own name for other people to invest in developments. This is a really familiar brand of business for him. So the fact that the Trump administration says, we're going to protect it and not profit from it. Can you think of a single opportunity to profit that the Trump administration, that the Trump family has not used since they got into office? All of this beggars belief.
Speaking of opportunities to make money, Eric Trump, the president's second son, is also investing money in an Israeli drone maker as part of a $1.5 billion deal to take the company public. He is doing this at the same time his father is overseeing our Department of Defense. Do I have that right?
You have a version of that exactly right. And it's sort of part of what has been so troubling. I contribute on the New York Times editorial page. And a point that they made relatively recently is that this is an administration where you've seen the president, that by their tally, sort of profit to this tune of something like $1.4 billion.
Much higher than that at this point.
Over the course of his first year in the second administration. And why that is concerning, and like my law professor hat on for a second, is that we are a country that is governed by rule of law. And so much of what I am seeing sort of concerns me. It's not just, these particular deals and these foreign governments, these particular arrangements. It's also the fact that this is an administration that is interested, or this is a president that is interested in suing his own IRS, is sitting at both sides of these particular types of negotiations with the Department of Justice. And so all of that, I worry, it's corrosive. It's all that we talk about with respect to sort of the profiteering aspects. But I worry that it ultimately degrades the rule of law and the integrity of institutions in this country in ways that I think are going to be long-lasting and hard to reverse.
But it also wants to weaken laws or disregard regulations or get rid of them in service of businesses that they're involved in. Right, Brendan? Eric Trump, along with his brother Don Jr., are hosting a crypto forum. Guess where? Mar-a-Lago tonight. It's going to be headlined by the heads of Goldman Sachs and the NASDAQ. Multiple Trump appointees, right, members of our government, are set to appear at this thing. I've said it many times before. Have we ever seen anything like this?
No. And, crypto is a fancy word for finance without regulation, right? There's nothing new about crypto. All of this stuff we've done before, we've seen before. The only difference, really always, when you hear the word crypto, just think finance without regulation. And there was a group of people sort of outside banks who are benefiting from that. It's a really cheap way to raise money. And then the Trump family realized that they could get in on this very early in the administration. One of the things that we're seeing now with laws that were passed by Congress is that these ways of cheaply raising money with very little regulation, very little oversight, are now available to banks as well. So this is a dead ball for crypto, where the banks are invited in as well. And the banks have recognized, look, we're going to go to where the regulation isn't. And where the regulation isn't is crypto.